We out of red in England. All aboard, yeah, you know it's hype train FC. Modern ambition, we got blue and gold in our kit. Plus, you know we the champs of the league, and we don't quit. Started from grassroots, yeah, the sport, we ain't taking it light. You know it's real, from fantasy to the field. You better believe the hype, yeah.
Hello one and all, and welcome back aboard Hype Train FC's official podcast on our YouTube channel. My name is Robert Austin, your host, and I've got another guest interview today, and somebody that's near and dear to my heart in local football terms, and we have Craig Farrell on. Craig is part of the Reading FC Community Trust by his day trade. He's a coach with them, and also he runs the team called Rose and Thistle FC, who are part of the Reading District Sunday League. They're by all means a quote-unquote pub team. They've got a local pub in the area that they are affiliated with, and I go through with Craig all things local pub teams as well as the Reading FC Community Trust, and also some larger strokes, issues, challenges, concerns and positives that people go through in grassroots football on a week-to-week basis. So strap in, it's a really insightful look about local football in the area, and let's get straight into it. Hi everyone, this is Rob from Hype Train Podcast, and today I've got another special guest with me. Craig, do you just want to introduce yourself first and foremost?
Hello everyone, I'm Craig from the Rose and Thistle Football Club.
Yeah, okay, nice, short and sweet. I thought you were going to go into it more. That's fair enough. For me, Craig's one of my better friends in the Sunday League scene in football. Really nice guy. And we'll start off by, you've got a Reading shirt on, and you're part of the Reading FC Community Trust.
Yes.
For people like myself that are in grassroots football but might not know what the trust is, do you mind just going into a little bit of information about that for me?
No, absolutely. So basically the Reading Community Trust is set up by the football club. They do a lot of work with children who don't really get on in school. So we have a Reading Alternative Provision Programme that kids can come out of school and come up to a couple of times a week, and they can learn in different ways that you can't really do at school. We also have a post-16 college course for coaching football, which is fantastic. A lot of the work I do is I go into schools and help with children who don't settle in class. So we'll give them alternative ways of learning, where we give it a buffer between learning a bit of fun, playing football or something, and back to learning again. But no, the Reading Community Trust, it does all sorts of different things, and you can always find out more information at the Community Trust web pages on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, I think, as well. And then they have a website as well, but they do so much.
Yeah,
it'd take a whole nother podcast to do.
Yeah, we'll I'll link all of the details below for the Community Trust. So in terms of like outreach, how big of an organisation is it? Is it like how many people are involved in the Community Trust that go out and about and help younger people?
So many different departments. They've got disability departments. They've got we have kick sessions that we do, that we go into deprived areas and give free football to young kids. Right now at the minute during half term, there's soccer camps going on. We've got kicks tournaments that we're hosting on Tuesdays for different age groups, from all the way from, I think it's 13 to 18 at the minute. There's so many people doing wonderful work in the local areas in Reading. We go out to Wokingham, we go into Bracknell, we go into so many local areas and help as many children as we can.
And is it all funded through the football club, I'm assuming, or is it like a donation as well? Like, how does like the trust work in terms of
the trust works? So most of it's the alternate provision. That's where most of its money comes from. It makes money through other areas as well. We get funding from the Premier League give us funding, the councils give us funding as well, and then schools obviously pay for certain like provisions we provide as well.
And I don't know how it relates to like potential football in the area for local people, but does the foundation have, does it help grassroots football at all in the local area?
So it used to, a few years ago, the Community Trust had its own football team that they ran in the Reading District Sunday League, and that kind of fell away, and now it's helping Give Back quite a lot. Yeah. So Give Back obviously are well known on online and all of that stuff. We've played against them a few times as well.
So have we.
Help, huh?
So have we. We've had a few tasty games against them. Yeah, very good team. Very good team.
Both teams, the reserve side as well. both very good teams, and they do a lot of help in the community as well through their one of the guys who founded it, Moses, does some great stuff, and then they help with Grassroots and stuff like that.
Yeah, of course. And switching on to Grassroots, obviously we've already kind of like preluded to it, but you run Rose and Thistle FC.
I do.
You're the one club that is trying to make every single luminescent kit on the planet. You've got a bright green kit, you've got a bright orange kit, and now you've got quite a flashy blue kit as well.
Yeah, the blue kit's nice. The green kit that was a stitch up. I have to say, the manager a couple of managers previous before I took over, he as his parting gift, he got us the green kit without anyone else who runs the club knowing, and he's like, "Here you go, have this bright green kit. No one else is going to have the same colour." He guaranteed it, and he's right. No one else has a ridiculously coloured shirt like us.
Absolutely not.
It's great. All the boys hate wearing it.
We had a pre-season game last summer, didn't we? Where we wore our bright orange kit, and you've got your bright green kit. And Sam, who does all of our photography, was like, "Rob, these photos are going to be a nightmare to edit because everything is just super bright and nobody can focus on anything." Yeah, it's like, God, it was something else trying to get that, and it was just like 33 or 34 degrees that morning as well.
It was the heat wave last year.
How are you finding pre-season this year? And I'm switching gears quite quickly, but at the moment, at the end of July when we're filming this, it's nice and temperate. It was raining last night at our training session, thundering down all evening. And do you know what? I was loving it because compared to this time last year, there wasn't a lick of rain until, the end of September? So how's it going for you guys on that pre-season front?
So pre-season for us is always tough. I have to say my dad Gary helps out with pre-season as a coach, and he's our fitness guy, and he's an absolute beast when it comes to fitness. He works us so hard during pre-season, so it's always tough. Obviously, not having much rain last year was an absolute killer. This year, I think we've stayed dry most of the time, but it's still really tough with the run-in and all sorts. We train at Prospect Park, and we'll do a lap of Prospect Park in its entirety, and then come back and do like shuttle runs and core exercises. So pre-season is tough. We've got our first friendly this Sunday, which I can't wait for, to kick a football and play football. It's been a long summer without it.
Oh yeah, who are you playing on Sunday?
We've got Pangbourne on Sunday.
Oh, Pangbourne. Yeah, I think they're in Division 3 of us next year. So just on the topic of pre-season, because different clubs do it differently. Yeah. Because you've got somebody that's heavily into fitness. My point of view, because I do a lot of trials in early July, I try to get in people by playing football. So my trial sessions are football orientated. So what are the benefits of doing pre-season on grass and doing a lot of running? What do you see as the benefits for doing those type of pre-season sessions? Because players will always have it in their head, oh my God, why am I running? Why am I doing all of this work? Is there a logic behind the clubs doing it?
I think there is. I think that it's very old school, isn't it? This kind of pre-season where you go up and normally the first couple of weeks you're not even seeing a football. I don't do it quite as bad as that one. So we split our pre-season trainings in half. So we'll train twice a week. Sunday will be the majority of the running side of it, because obviously it's not late at night like we train tonight. So we'll train tonight where we'll do a lot of football based stuff where everyone's already really knackered from work that day and a couple of things in the week. So we do a lot of football based for stuff on a Thursday, and on a Sunday, Gary is in his own element with all these running exercises we do. And the benefit of it is you stay in games later. Like, you can see the difference when we didn't have Gary, and you'd get to the 75th, 80th minute in games, and there's nothing left. You've got nothing in the tank. And now with Gary coming in and doing the whole fitness exercise, we're fighting and staying in games for 90 minutes. Which I think is essential. So many games go down to the wire, and at 80 minutes you could be 1-0 down or 1-1, and some teams are blowing, and they're not having that, the energy to come and get the equaliser or get the winner. And we always stay in games till the end. I think that's the benefit of it, being able to perform at your peak until the end of the game and not drop off.
I think for me, the big difference between... So my football sessions at the moment are all football orientated because depending on how long the trial process goes on for, like, for example, our training yesterday, we had 23 people and most of them were new players, like the majority of them. So I was scared about telling them, especially on a 3 or 4G pitch, to just do running. So we just utilised the pitch.
Yeah.
I think, though, that when you do those type of sessions with a core of players, you actually build up more camaraderie as well. It's easy when you're just playing football just to turn up to a session and then leave at the end of it without getting to speak to anybody, without having to go through the meal with anybody. Like I was playing last season for Hambledon in the Thames Valley League on Saturdays whilst we took a year break. And I went to a couple of their pre-season events this July. It was a different thing because, you know, they're God, up at Hambledon, everything is on a giant hill. So you're running, doing the whole like laps around, but it's all uphill. And then there's a little bit downhill, like, you know, for a bit of a respite, but then it's all back to it. But you do different things. You know, you get to like do little tug of war type of things, and they were doing different game scenarios, and it's a different type of environment. So I can definitely see the benefit of it. Yeah. But for you, so just one question about like players. What do you think players wanted to do in pre-season and what they want to get out of it? Do you think that players, first of all, want to do a pre-season? Do you think that there's resistance to it? Or do you think that players largely are on board with the process depending on the club?
I think it entirely depends on the club and how they see things going. Like our pre-seasons, we do make them quite fun. We try and, you know, obviously keep it fun, light-hearted. Like the jog round, when we do a run, it's a run together. There's not like a sprint race where you got, you know, the really athletic guys are bombing on down, finishing as quick as they can. It is very much we jog together. So we get that chat, that whole, you know, the camaraderie that comes with it. And when we do like the core stretches and stuff, we're all in a square, so we're all nice and compact and together, and we help each other through it. I think the benefits of pre-season, I think players don't necessarily see it straight away. In fact, they're very new into pre-season and into men's football. But when the season starts and, you know, you're getting into a flow of fixtures and you think, God, if we didn't have pre-season, what state would we be in now the league started? And especially with how you know, the Sunday League last year with the run of fixtures that we had with midweek fixtures. If you're not fit and ready in the season and you again get to the midweek fixtures and you're playing Thursday, Sunday, Tuesday, and you're not ready, it's can only end in injury and stuff like that, and players don't want to miss out. So that's why I think the benefits of pre-season are important to get that base of foundation of fitness, and then you add everything else on top.
And as a manager yourself, what do you say to players? Because what do you say to players about keeping themselves fit aside from football? Because largely, whenever I speak to some of the senior players in my team, they say, "Oh, Rob, it's, you know, common sense. The players should naturally be keeping themselves fit." Yeah. Because you've got somebody in your team like Gary that's helping that along. Do you guys encourage people to stay fit outside of football as well, or do you just let the players do it naturally?
100%. No, 100%. Need to stay active, especially after a long summer. I know most of my boys will play midweek, train with us, do Sunday as well, and then we'll play midweek again. As much football as you can play, as long as you're not overdoing it and feeling the fatigue effects of it. I think it's really important to stay fit outside of football, even if it's not football anymore. You know, some players like go to the gym, go swimming. Anything to stay fit. I think have that helps in life, doesn't it, really? If you don't have that football, that release of football, if you go to the gym or go swimming or cycling or anything like that, anything is a benefit.
I was looking at I was looking at something the NHS posted yesterday about somebody that had 80-year-old lungs that did no exercise throughout their life. They weren't part of sports clubs. They had quite a sedentary lifestyle compared to somebody that was doing athletics, playing football, playing local sport. and the difference was basically one lung was completely shredded and it caved in, and there wasn't a lot of muscle, whereas people that were doing regular exercise typically had longer, healthier lives as well. So yeah, I always tell players to keep fit, but sometimes, you know, players can be lazy, people can be busy with home life, families, jobs, so 100%. It's difficult not to be pressure on it. And also sometimes, you know, some of my better players can sometimes be, you know, a little bit overweight, they're getting back into it, but they've still got that like raw ability as well. So you can kind of like say to them, okay, you can get away with it. But yeah, so obviously you run Rose and Thistle. For those that don't know, and for the listeners at home, Rose and Thistle is a pub in Reading. So I would probably guess that everybody views you as a pub team. How does a pub team come into formation? Like, how does that get off the ground? Were you involved in any of that?
Yeah, absolutely. So this all starts way back when I first started playing Sunday League. About 11 years ago now. And I joined a pub team with my dad came and my uncle. And from there, we met a core group of players that I still play with now. And from there, we made two teams. We made a reserve side and a first team because we had so many players. And the first team and the reserves kind of drifted apart. So my dad took over from the reserve side, and we then formed it into our own club. The basis of getting a pub team off the ground primarily is going and talking to as many established pub establishments as you can. For us, when I took over as manager, we were already established as the Rose and Thistle, but when we went to talk to the Rose and Thistle, we went in as a team. So the manager, I went in, one of the coaches went in, and one of our players who found the pub that were interested in us. We all went in and we laid out, look, we'd love to use your name, we'd love to make a kit with you guys, we'd love to use your pub as a base for us. We used to play at Prospect Park, which was down the road from the Rose and Thistle, and the landlady at the time was fantastic. She couldn't do enough. She'd put on food after every game, she'd welcome us in every weekend. Any like Christmas do, end of season do, she'd host for us as well. She was fantastic. She put money into the club as well from the pub, which for us is our biggest challenge, I think, as a pub team, is about getting money into the club. That's got to be the biggest challenge we face. It's about having money, because obviously pitches and referee fees are going up each year, and I know we were at a meeting a couple of last month, weren't we? And
yeah,
I put the ref fees up, and the league and the pitch fees are always there, and they all cost money. And even for pre-season, paying for pitches and paying for refs through pre-season, you need that money and that the solidity that comes with. So we're quite lucky. We've got a good team here at the Rose and Thistle with my it's a proper family club. Unfortunately, my dad helps out, my mum helps out, and myself, and then my brother plays for us as well. And we run it. So the finances we're in control of, the management side of it, the coaching side of it, we're all in control. But yeah, getting a pub as good as the Rose and Thistle is, that helps you out behind the scenes. They helped pay a pitch bill a month, which was amazing. They bought us a red kit that we used to wear that is no longer in service, unfortunately, due to injuries. Players get cut out of tops and stuff if they do their arms or their shoulders and things like that. So yeah, pub. The Rose and Thistle was fantastic up until COVID hit, and yeah, the pub from there took a long time to reopen. Now it is reopened. It's changed a lot. The landlady is no longer in charge anymore. So yeah.
So talk to me about that transition then. So how long so COVID obviously hit? What was it? March 2019 or 2020? I can't even remember now.
2020.
I'm having fog. Yeah, 2020. So
it is a fog. That whole
period.
I don't know. It happened, but I don't know when it happened.
So in that period, how long from the start of COVID did it take for that pub to get off the ground? again?
So it went down straight away, obviously, as we went into lockdown. It reopened early last year, I think, mid last year. I think the World Cup was on. So it was Christmas, yeah. No, it was Christmas.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was as the World Cup was on, the pub reopened.
And at the time when this whole process was going on with the pub potentially going out of business and not coming back at the time, would that have affected your team's name, or would you have still continued as the Rose?
So while it closed, we were still the Rose. We kept the Rose, we kept the team, we obviously kept the shirts as well. It did affect us for a long time. And, with the pub coming back now, we're still in limbo with the pub, see if what's happening, if they want to continue with a football team. And if they do decide not to, we'd then obviously have to change names and things like that.
It's a hype train Rose. We'll make you a nice little logo. We'll put you in another multicolored kit.
I don't know if I can handle another green. No, stop it.
I'll get you a green as fluorescent as the top I'm wearing. Don't worry.
That's it. Yeah. Lovely.
And we'll just we'll put you on YouTube, and it'll just be people will just be sick to death for looking at these bright kits.
Who's those traffic cones? What are they running around for?
It reminds me of the old Reading kits that they used to have when they were in the Premier League.
Yeah.
They had the bib style coloured kits in when they were up in the Premier League. They played Chelsea in one game in a league game, and Reading played in the kit, and the stewards and the players were literally identical.
Yeah, that was such a good time. Reading in the Premier League. Right?
Oh God, what a memory! I think it's just a memory now, isn't it? Those days. 100% in memory. So just with the pub element, because obviously I don't want to besmirch anything, because these situations are weird, but have you already had those conversations about what's going to happen? Do you kind of have a roadmap of, if they don't want to go ahead with a football team and help support it, do you kind of have an avenue about what you're going to be doing? Because you might have to change your identity completely.
So I didn't really want to. This is
No.
So with the pub, we communicated with them as the pub reopened. We were all very, very excited about it reopening. We went in and we had a chat with them.
It's a lovely pub. We haven't really
had too much, huh?
It's a lovely pub. It's a really nice pub in the area. 100%.
It is a really nice pub in a good area as well. Unfortunately, there hasn't been too much communication from their side. So over the course of this summer, we have been looking at other options, as a whole new team, a whole new identity. Hopefully, the league just let us change our name and we can carry on as the club. And we just change the team name, which hopefully will happen. We've got a pub we're in communication with quite a lot at the minute. They will remain nameless. Just obviously don't want to jinx it, and someone else can go in and take it. But we're quite far into talks with a new pub at the minute. It's a pub we go in a lot.
So would your preference be to continue as a pub team? Was that your first avenue? Okay, this pub team isn't potentially going to be going on for the long term, and was your initial thought process, okay, let's find another pub because that's our environment, that's what we like? Yeah,
absolutely, 100%. Soon as we kind of thought about it, and we had the inclination that it might not carry on as the Rose, we definitely thought, right, new pub, where can we go? What's local? What best suits our team? So obviously, going into a pub after Sunday about 1:00, it's only an hour till the next football was on. The Premier League 2:00 kickoffs, or the Championship 12:00 kickoffs. So a pub with Sky Sports was important. Pub that has the right things for us, the right appeal. Because obviously the best thing for us is to get as many players after a game. Obviously you're not going to get everyone because other people with other things going on, but as many as you can get into this pub to really bond as a team and come together and make sure the atmosphere on the pitch is as good as the atmosphere off it, and the same vice versa. Because we found while the pub wasn't open through COVID, we'd go and play these games, we'd win, we'd have a really good atmosphere in the changing room afterwards, and people would want to go somewhere or want to do something. And I think it's a really good point to go to a pub, to be that pub, your pub, to walk in and get that sense, you know all the staff. It's a really good atmosphere to be at. Even if you don't win a game, you can go in and still have that reassurance, walk into the pub, we'll all have a laugh, we'll sit down, we'll, dissect what happened in the game. It's really good to evaluate as well. So it's a nice place for everyone to go.
Potentially, it's more important to go have a social setting when you lose, in particular, because there's nothing worse as a manager when you have a loss that's hard to take and people just storm off, and then you're thinking, oh my God, what's going to happen in the next few days? So speak to that a little bit more, because this is something that new football clubs that are starting up will have a hard time to start with. And I'll speak to my experience, because we don't have that local identity, and a lot of my players kind of had to be recruited online. I didn't have the connections at the time, so it took my team to the final day before lockdown happened in March. We played a game against Phoenix Old Boys before they were SB Phoenix on a Saturday, and really good cup game. We went to the pub afterwards, and there was about 10 of us. It was the first time we had done it in an entire season, because the guys weren't gelled, they weren't bonded together. And new clubs do find this an issue as well. So speak to that experience about why it's important getting these lads together and trying to cultivate that environment, because a lot of clubs out there do struggle to get that bond together. And because obviously from my point of view, it took over a year for that process to get going. So if you have anything to add to that type of situation, then that would be beneficial for people that are looking to start their own team.
Absolutely. So I always say the more you're friends with the team around you, the more of a relationship you have, the harder you work for them people on and off the pitch. So I really feel at the club at the minute, I always try and install that, we're a family, the Rhodes, we're the Rhodes family. We have, days like the end of season do where it's a family thing. We have days out and trips to the pub, Christmas do. It's always that family ethos, and it always correlates on the pitch. If when I'm playing next to my centre back partner, if I've got that real connection with him, thankfully he's my cousin most of the time. So my cousin's my centre back partner, and I know him inside and out. His game, I know what he's thinking, know where he's going, and we can play better because of it. I always feel that if you're friends with the people around you, you'll try that much harder for them.
And
so, I always feel it's a really good thing to have is that family ethos, that connection you have with all of the players, not just having groups like one group, like half of my team work with me, so I have that relationship there. Another group that I've been playing with for 10, 11 years, but it's all about putting them together and making the relationships off the pitch with players that will play around you and on the pitch as well. It's a really important thing to do with being especially being a Sunday League outfit. Just having that relationship with people on and off the pitch, I think it's vital to a Sunday League team and having success on or off the pitch.
So let's just put a scenario out. Let's say there's a new team, first year, and they're trying to build their identity, build that club culture. What would you say to a manager to get his guys to be more socially active? If he doesn't quite know how to get these guys, say, at a pub or at some type of a social event, what would you say to this manager to try to encourage his players and his outfit to get together more often?
I'd say, if as a brand new manager, I'd say opportunities. Give players opportunities to come out. So like this last off season, we had an end of season do with all the families, all the little babies, all the children, all the mums, dads. I obviously took my whole family, brought the wife along as well, and we had a really good day out. But then we also did a team night out. So we left the wives, the children's, the mums and the dads. Well, I took my dad. And we left them all at home and we went out as a team. As a team, you have fun. We had a laugh. We drank far too much. And it's just all about giving opportunities. We're fortunate in our team. One of my coaches is his mum works at a foot golf up in Maple Durham.
Yeah.
So we'll go out and we'll play some foot golf, which provide as many opportunities for your players to bond as you can. Gary has a really good way of doing this when in the warm-ups for like the core stretches and the muscles and all sorts of stuff. He'll pair you up with someone and you'll work hard together. So unfortunately, because my brother's joined me this year, I've been left with him, and we'll do like piggyback races or wheelbarrow races, and we'll create that environment where you've got to work together and to have some fun. I always feel it's always best just to provide as many opportunities as you can. Players will want to get involved always, because they'll want to have that better team spirit. They want to come on a Sunday morning and have so much fun and play football, and that only comes with having the opportunity to. So as a new manager, I'd always say provide as many opportunities as you can for players to be together. Get them, obviously the better players get together, the better it will be. Players will want to have that time to bond with a new team.
Of course, and so we've been talking a lot about off the field, which I think is arguably more important sometimes than on the field. So let's switch tracks and talk a little bit about the actual experience on the field then. So last season, you guys were in RDSL Division 2, got a good win on the opening day against Zone RG, probably had to use your fitness to dig in.
It was tough. It was really tough. They are a really good outfit. They are. Yeah, 1-0. It was a really, really, really tight game. Every game against them last year was tight. We started well. We started on the front foot. We got a goal. We weren't afraid to change things when it weren't working, which is the benefit of having such a tight knit group. Is when someone, I feel for our striker at the time, it was his first game for us, and I think we dragged him off after half an hour because it wasn't working for him. It wasn't the right system we were playing, and our backup striker came on and scored within like 5 minutes, and we got the 1-0 win, and it's really important to have that start for a season. If you get that positive, even just a positive performance, like to keep a clean sheet for us which is gold dust last year, was fantastic. Getting the early goal, which was amazing, and beating a really good side.
You're talking about clean sheets and gold dust. I was looking through the clean sheet rankings and the defence. There were barely any clean sheets in the Reading Sunday League last year at all.
No,
it was ridiculous. Division 3 that we were in was the highest scoring division. I think there was an average of 7 goals a game. It was madness. There were barely any clean sheets, like at all. No. So yeah, it's a league of entertainment. Some wins are too big, some wins are marginal. Yeah. But on the whole, based on your experience managing and playing, what do you think the biggest challenges are for a Sunday League team to get through the playing season first and foremost? So what are from your point of view, the day-to-day running, what are the things that go, oh my God, this is going to be difficult, like the constant challenges that you have to go through?
Yeah, so my mind, as soon as you said that, challenges, my mind immediately went to the financial side of it. Because of how much it is right now to pay for pitches, for training facilities, for equipment, for, finances are difficult. So that's the first one. Having to get money out of players is always a challenge. I don't know your experience with it, but it's always been a challenge to us. We've got so many ways about it. We've got a card machine and things like that, and it helps. I think making sure players are, available for games as well can be quite tricky sometimes. I think I was beneficial last year. I had a good core group of players that were always available. And we had obviously some players that weren't, and some players that, dip in and out as and when they can, but to have that core is really important. And just the general, I get 1 day off from Sunday League football a week. You think you got, if you look at a day, a week in your life, you got, start with the game on the Sunday. Obviously, you got to fill out the team sheets before, do the game. After the game, you have to go online and put up all the details on the FA website. Monday's the day off. Tuesday, you're starting to talk to players about availability for the weekend. Wednesday, you're still reminding players about availability for the weekend and for training, or you're training yourselves. Thursday, training. Friday, you're looking at the squad list, seeing what lineups you can put out, what happens. Saturday, you've got to deal with players that are dropping out left, right, and centre, or preparing for the game. Doing all of that stuff. Make sure you've got all the kit ready, all the equipment. Make sure that all the players know where they're going, and then you're back round to Sunday again. That's got to be one of the challenges is how much time it takes.
Do you think that players understand how long it takes for organisers
No.
when they're organising football? Because I'll speak to my experience as well. So typically we run across both days of football. We have one squad, and I allow them to dip their toes into each day if they want. Largely, we try to prioritise Saturday football because it's the bigger ball ache to organise compared to Sunday, because people are largely more readily available, and you get a lot more people that are new dads and that have younger families that can make themselves available early on in the day. So we go through a similar process. We put out for training availability on Monday. We train on Wednesdays because we play on Saturdays, so we have that distinction of playing a bit earlier. So I don't have the off day, so I go straight from Sunday to putting the availability on Monday, and then from Monday to Wednesday, it's prodding people to be available and asking people if they're around or not. And then largely, I think probably Thursday is my off day because you have training, you can relax for a day whilst you sort out availability, and then Friday is when you go over the lists. And then and people always say to me, "Oh, Rob, do you want to come out on a Friday evening for a few hours?" And I'm like, I can't. Sam has a group of friends that know that we run the club. A couple of them come to watch of our games. They're really nice people, and they're always saying to Sam, "Oh, come out for a barbecue." And Sam's like, "Yeah, I'll come." And it's like, "What about Rob?" And they're just like, "No, he can't do it." And they're like, "Oh, but why?" It's always but why. We don't understand why that takes so long, and I don't think that people understand. People don't understand how long it sometimes takes to organise little nitty-gritty details. Packing the kit takes forever. Sorting out the team sheets, putting out WhatsApp messages. Then the hidden killer, I don't know if it's the same for you, but dealing with WhatsApp messages sometimes, getting everybody organised as well, like babysitting people across the line is largely what I do and spend my time on. And it's that mental fixation on making sure, and because we film every game as well, so I have to do a lot of preparation with camera equipment and photography and elements like that. So there's also that. So I'm usually charging everything. My electricity bill's going through the roof. And then it's like packing like a utility bag, making sure I've got the money for the referees, because a lot of them want cash and they don't want card. And so, there's a lot of hidden details. So people, I'm glad you said that, because people are always like, "Oh, Rob, why don't you have more of a social life at the weekends?" And I'm like, I don't have time.
There's no chance. No, you've got no chance. My wife always says that she is a widow with Sunday League football because it takes up so much of the week. And it'll be like, I'll go in from work and she'll be like, "Oh, should we sit down? Should we watch a film?" And I'm like, "What? Watch a film? No, I've got to be on the phone. I've got to be talking to people for Sunday. I've got to be this. I've got to be doing that." And she's like, "Oh, football. Football. It is a life choice, isn't it, mate?"
It is. It's a life choice, but it's also a very rewarding life choice as well, because the more you put into it, the more you get out of it as well. From my experience,
for the world.
No, I wouldn't. And I've not got a wife, so I can't speak to having somebody so closely next to me. But when I've dated in the past and I've had people, they just don't get it. They don't understand my mental side of it, where they don't see it. I view it as non-negotiable because it's a part of me, and they look at it as if it's negotiable, and they don't understand the mindset that you go through as an organizer. And this isn't just football. This is anybody. I speak to people that run rugby clubs that have larger squads, and they're arguably more dedicated because they have more people. But largely the rugby I spoke to a rugby manager up in Grove. We played a game in a county cup game in Oxfordshire, and there was 2 or 3 rugby teams playing, and then there was one football game, and they had one football team, but it was largely a rugby club. And we went into the clubhouse afterwards, really big venue, and we were treated as the football guys. So, we were all really small in comparison, like little pipsqueaks going into this room of large men that were like 5 times my size. And I spoke to the guy that was running Grove Rugby Club, and he said to me that they have 200 players in the WhatsApp group, 5 teams, and they deal with 5 times the amount of admin we do. But the guys are so professional, the players, there's no BS. They just do, there's no mollycoddling. It's you're in or you're out. And largely the players are going to be in because it's a cultural thing. And I'm like, God, I wish we had that culture in football where players were a little bit more like, they just were in. There was no politics or hurdling or trying to find out or trying to like beg players to play. And I would think football needs to take a page out of rugby big time because I couldn't believe it when they don't chase players. They're in. They're always in. If they're in, they're in and they're committed. So it's a different world. But largely, I always try to stress to players, to be nice to organisers because they don't know how hard sometimes we have it as well. So speaking, so we'll just change, go back to the financial element of it because it is the thing that, it's on my head all the time. Like at the moment in pre-season, I'm currently thinking budget, money. It's the one thing that goes on in my head. I think about the exact figure about how much I have in our club bank account virtually every single day. I don't think a day passes where I'm not thinking about ingoings and outgoings. We needed to update our home kit this summer because a lot of we've had it for 5 years and the numbers are peeling off. It's just worn down. It's just ridiculous. We can't get the stains out. We needed to update it. I was there thinking, God, how are we going to do that? I need to budget for this, and this. What are the main things that you go through with your finances and how you look to curb that?
So a lot of what we do is with finances of we bring in a lot with players signing on and things like that, and players will pay and all of that. We'll budget that. I'm quite thankful to my mum actually, who does the finance side of it. So we'll collect all the money on a Sunday and she'll run the bank accounts and all of that, and she keeps us on a real tight leash of what we need to change, what we need to bring in. We'll go to her and say, can we have some training equipment? She's like, no, you don't need it. We're not spending that money, especially this time of year with obviously paying, cause we've so much you got to pay in pre-season with the paying to sign into the league, paying for the cups, paying for all sorts. You got to pay for insurances and all sorts. So really, she's really hot on it with the money and things like that. And she'll say, right, this player owes this much. Message him, get it out from him. Let's get some money back into the club. And she's really good at running with that. So I'm quite thankful.
Yeah. So if anybody is looking to start a new football team, Craig's hit the nail on the head. Pre-season is arguably the most expensive time of the year.
100%.
First and foremost, you have to pay for all of your pitches ad hoc. So usually throughout the season, you get usually a block booking worth of pitches. So, let's say you're in a league with 12 teams. You reach out to your pitch provider. You play up at Maple Durham with Caversham. So whoever leases the pitches up there will typically send you an invoice, and then you can pay that before the start of the season, typically with signing on fees. But pre-season is different. You have to pay it ad hoc, as and when. And typically the pitch fees are astronomical because a lot of the time you got to go on 4G or the artificial pitches, which cost a bomb. And on top of that, you've got to pay 50-50 split fees with other teams. So friendlies are costing about, depending on where you go, £60 to £100 at the moment. And it's a lot of money. And if you're charging £5 subs per game, the club is ultimately running at a deficit every single pre-season game. Unless you're charging your players for the cost of the session. So it can be difficult. On top of that, state if I'm missing anything, you have to pay for your county FA insurance, which is public liability and public indemnity. And if nobody knows what that is, basically you have 2 insurances. Number one is if your players get involved in an accident, let's say they break their leg, they're covered. And number 2, public indemnity, is if your actions playing football injure somebody else, such as, let's say you kick a football over the bar and it hits a little girl or a boy in the head and they get a concussion. That is what covers public indemnity. On top of that, you've got to pay league fees as well to the leagues that you're entering. You have to update any equipment that you may need, such as medical kits or top-up equipment in case your medical kit's running low. Any new footballs, any new training or match day equipment that you need in case you're running low. God, there's so much. I can't know.
That's tip of the iceberg, mate, isn't it?
Tip of the iceberg. Tip of the iceberg.
There's so much more.
And so if you're a new team, you have to budget really. You need to make sure that you have your money in place by July at the latest, because otherwise you as an organizer will be just shedding out too much of your own money to get going, basically. And apart from that, so obviously we've gone into challenges with money, challenges off the field as well. On a week-to-week basis, in the Reading, let's stick to the Reading Sunday League. What are the challenges week-to-week that you guys go through in the Reading Sunday League? Are there any challenges that I'm speaking more to the experience of playing and just getting by the season, such as player recruitment, injuries, how many players you need? Like, what are the things that are on your mind when you're trying to run the team for an entire season?
So I always find that having a good squad, having a big enough squad to manage injuries and things like that, making sure players are available all the time. Through the weeks, you've got to organise the referees, you've got to organise your opponents if you're playing at home. You've got to go through and make sure everyone knows where they're going, make sure that the changing rooms are all there and open for everyone. Through the week, you've got to organise your team, your squad. If you do training as well, you've got to do a training plan. The benefit for me is being a coach as profession. Do you know what I mean? You can whip training sessions off like that and that and that. And my other coach who works alongside me is a coach as well, so we can get sessions going at the drop of a hat with Gary doing the fitness side of it. But if you're not, if coaching's not really, your bread and butter, you've got to think of these sessions or find them online through the week. Obviously, that's just even before thinking about, how to line up your team at the weekend, who needs a lift. I've always got a car full every Sunday morning of people who can't drive that need to get to the games. I have to clear my car out of all the stuff that it's got from the week before. It is a tricky ask for week for week, and then at the back end of the season when you get midweek fixtures, it's just joy.
What's the most challenging time of the week then for you? Do you think that there's more pressure organising training sessions or the games? Because I deal with larger volumes of players at trainings than I do at the games. Because we run on both days, I typically have packed training sessions, and there's more there's a bigger volatile atmosphere for me on a Wednesday before training, because there's more people that can pull out, and I have to do a lot more critical thinking on a Wednesday compared to what I do on a Saturday. Because largely I don't get as many dropouts for the weekend as I do in the midweek period as well. So what's the most challenging part of the week for you?
For me, obviously training's easier for me. No matter what the numbers I get, I have a session in mind. Like for tonight, I have a session in mind ready to go, and I can vary it fairly quickly with if I get 10, 15, 20 players. The challenging thing for me is remembering to message opponents and referees and making sure everyone knows where they are. For me, that's the most challenging part outside of a Sunday, where you have to get up to the ground early, set up the pitch, make sure everything's set out, ready to go, make sure the boys are there, they're all in the right equipment or in the right kit. Because obviously the referees have come down quite hard on players wearing, different coloured shorts or something like that. So it's that, obviously, through the week, remembering to message everybody. I think that's the biggest thing for me.
Yeah, I only did that once last season. I was just swamped one week, and I had a good relationship with the team that we were playing, Core, and I didn't message them until like Friday evening and everything. Wow. And it was our home game. But Liam said, "Nope, we know, you're a good team. We'll just be there on Sunday. It's all good, perfect." And I was like, "Oh, great," because we had a league official assigned to us, and it's just one of the things. Usually I would send the message on Monday, and if I don't send the message on Monday, my brain just moves on. And it was like, oh, damn, I need to send the message back out. But sending out those confirmation details and having the energy to do that is it's challenging on a week to week, because it's just you have to be consistent. And running a football club, I would say you have to be largely a consistent, methodical person at the best of times and the worst of times, especially when you lose. I've had a few games where we've lost, and I've had to write to the league because of, say, an incident, and I've just got no enthusiasm to sort out the game for the weekend at all. Yeah. And I'm gritting my teeth, and I'm still upset, and I'm still mad. But at the same point, I still know that I'm on the clock, and I'm like, oh God, I've got to like bury my feelings and then do something completely separate. So it's a tricky thing. So obviously we're both part of the Reading Sunday League. What do you think are some of the challenges that the Reading Sunday League face as the league is going on now? Because I had a really good podcast with James Mason, and we talked about the way the league's heading, and he gave me a lot of insight about how the committee works there. What do you think about the way the league's moving forward, and what the challenges are going to be for teams like ourselves in the Sunday League in 5-10 years in the future, if we're looking a little bit ahead? What kind of things do you see as issues or potential stumbling blocks for participation in football?
Do you know what? I think the appeal to play Sunday football is going to be the biggest thing. The guys that run the Reading District Sunday League, they have a thankless job. To go from one lady who does the fixture secretary, the referee secretary, to organise. We moan about we have to organise 2 teams for a game. She has to do 5 leagues, every week. She works tremendously hard, and then not every team is as nice to deal with as all the other teams are. Some have issues with refs, some have issues with not having a pitch. That all of the work they do is unbelievable for us just to go and play football. So I have to say each and every one of them does a tremendous job to get us organised and get us playing a game of football. Hopefully we're all still around Sunday League in 5-10 years time. Obviously it's deteriorated quite a lot. If you look back 10 years ago, we had 2 divisions. When I first started, we were in Div 4, Div 4 East and Div 4 West. And we had that all the way up to Div 1. Back when my old man started managing his very first Sunday League side, they had hundreds of leagues. I had about 15 leagues, I think. And he played in Division 2 Central, and they had Division 2 East and West, and they had that all the way across from Div 4 to Div 1. So hopefully that Sunday League can continue through the next 5-10 years, and we're not seeing another decrease in teams, because obviously even this year, difference between last year and this year, obviously the senior Premier Division this year only has 8 teams in it. So it's like, keep getting these new teams coming through, and keep, I feel we need to do more with helping the youth teams. Like you get the under 18 teams, that we need to help them get into Sunday League more than anything else, because if we can get the young players playing again, because how many teams, young teams that we know come up through the youth system through Saturday leagues and stuff, and then transfer that to a Sunday League. I can't think of too many young teams that come all together through. So I think that's something that could be looked at and helped with. We all received an email a couple of weeks ago about a team that's local to us, that they're not. Once the kids have gone to under 18, there's no next step for them, and their players are stuck and they don't know what to do, and they're like crying out for teams to reach out for them. So I think that's something that we need to change. Right? There needs to be that natural progression through, under 15, 16, 17, 18, and then to go and play men's. I think that's something that needs to be worked on. That could be a challenge for the Reading District Sunday League for the next 5 or 10 years, for sure.
Yeah, because James was telling to me similar stories about the decrease, and made a point to me about number one, that the league, and he mentioned about the referees here and said that Reading has a big issue with attracting enough referees, and went on to what the Referees Association is in Reading and said that when the County FA basically got involved and took a lot of their power away, the league basically has since then struggled to maintain referees in the local area because the County FA basically cherry pick and take away referees that would otherwise be involved in local football, and said that it's almost like the geographical boundary for referees and officials has really hurt the league, because then it trickles down to experience on a Sunday. And this is what the Reading Referees Union have told him, that that because the lack of referees, these teams, especially at the bottom divisions, are just getting frustrated. And I can speak to that. Last year we had a nightmare of lack of referees, opponents using it to their advantage, to cheat, to be evil, to do the dark arts of football that you just don't want to see. And then players ultimately, like mine, some of mine said, I'm not doing it again, I'm not doing that, I don't want to be involved in that, and it turned them away. On top of that, there was I also spoke in depth about the cost of football as well, that it's becoming a lot more expensive and people don't want to shell out of their own pockets. And the largest thing James did, and you can probably comment on this, is the squads now that teams are having to field are so much larger than what they used to be. Back in the day when you used to have like Div 4 East and West, the squad sizes used to be about 20, but you'd have about 18 of those 20 turn up every single week. Nowadays, teams are largely averaging about 34 players just for one Saturday or Sunday team, just to get 15, 14, 12, 11 out on a week-to-week basis. Do you see that as a trend as well in football that's happening? Larger squads, more players? Because typically, if in another world, let's say me and you both had 35 players signed on, we'd both have reserve teams and 2 extra teams. But realistically, we have 34 or 36, whatever the number may be, but we only have one team. So do you think that that's a big trend as well?
I think it is, yeah. That is an issue with having these big squads, which is completely needed, with players not always being available. I think that's the biggest thing. Not everyone's like us, mate, and we live, breathe, and die Sunday League football. Having these big squads are really important. Obviously, only able to bring 16. I don't think we hit 16 too many times last year. Like the tops we'd get is 15, 14. It is a big thing. It is a big thing with having bigger squads than ever before. But again, you have to kind of move with it, and you have to have those big squads. Otherwise you're in trouble. You won't have players like, I remember not last year, the year before. We went through and we played the last game of the season. We played against Emma Green, who are one of the best Sunday League teams around, and we went with 10 men and we got absolutely battered. Absolutely battered. They run us ragged. We were all over the place. And at the end of the game, they came up to us and they go, seriously, thank you for coming out this morning, 'cause no other team would. No one would come up here with 10 men knowing they're not going to, really realistically get a result. But it's really important that you came out and you played this game for us, against us, and we got that, we got to play, because other teams are very quickly to cancel games and cancel fixtures just because of who they're up against. I think that's also a big challenge. I think that also happened to the senior or the Premier Division. Teams dropping out. That's another test. Going back to the referee point though, we had it both ways last year, where we would get some outstanding referees, like some top draw referees, and you think, right, great, we know this game's going to be officiated the right way, and you felt really thankful that they were there. But then on the twist side of it, you get some referees that don't put in that energy, don't put in the, at pre-game, they're not coming over and having a chat with you and they're all friendly and nice. They turn up at 10:30, They do a coin toss and that's it. They don't want anyone else to talk to them. And some of the refs, you know, I don't like to speak ill of refs, but some of them need to, you know, assess where they're at in their refereeing career, same as you would as a footballer. If you weren't, if you're refereeing a level and playing at a level, and you're not as effective in that level as you are, you may need to go back down a few levels. We had one example. We had a ref last year who we know really well. We've had him for years. He's been a ref for absolutely ages. But we had him for one game last year, and he didn't know what way to turn. He didn't know, you know, there was some decisions he was making, and I was like, I went up to him at the end. I was like, "Are you okay? Are you all right?" Because the stress of refereeing is getting to people. I think that's to do with the refereeing numbers and stuff like that. So referees, they don't help themselves sometimes. I feel for some refs, you know, some of the refs we had last year were absolutely fantastic. Couldn't say a word against it. We had a young lad who's refereeing our pre-season friendlies this year, and he was a really young lad, and he was top draw. Didn't stand for anything, you know. So yeah, referees. Some of them are really good. Some of them need to, you know. I need help. I need help. I remember I went and watched a game last year, in your division, where it was my brother's team last year, and the referee was so young, and you could tell he had only literally just finished his refereeing course online, and he came up to both teams at the end of the game and asked how he could do better, and both teams absolutely ripped him apart. So I do feel that
was it constructive, or was it constructive or purely negative?
Some of it was constructive, but others,
or was it more like an attack?
Absolutely negative. It was horrible. I was there with my dad. We went and watched this game, and I brought the wife with me. She came up to me at the end, and she doesn't get involved too much with football and stuff like that. But she was like, "Were they really talking to the ref like that?" And I was like, "I know. I'm going to go and have a chat with the ref. I'm going to help him, see what I can do to help him." And I just feel that the referees need support. They need support, and they really need help. Some of them, especially this young lad, he must have been 17, if not just 18, and they sent him out there to a Div 3 game, a competitive game, and yeah, he just didn't grasp the situation and made some ridiculous calls, and I felt for him at the end.
Well, it happens when you've got, you know, I definitely know that every single person in life goes through these moments where they're feeling pressured and they do things that is out of their normal remit. So one thing that I'm part of the East Berks committee, so I have a bit of an inside eye about how they're trying to combat this. And this league in particular, out of the EBFL, they have it bad with their opinion on referees, because every single team that I've spoken with, and I went to a like an interest meeting about getting the East Berks League back up, because their league out. So you've got on Saturday football, you've got the Thames Valley League and the East Berks League. The East Berks League has been suffering for years with their numbers. And I went to an interest meeting, and the main thing that old clubs or new clubs said was that the standard of refereeing in the league is abysmal. And they were trying to be constructive, asking, what is it about the referees? And it was just the characteristics that you can't change in a person, such as they were too stubborn, they wouldn't talk to you, there was no mentorship or leadership. So what the league have done this year, and this is probably something that I've even mentioned this to the Reading Sunday League, and hopefully they talk about it at their next financial committee meeting that they run. But I said I spoke to them about what the East Berks are doing, and that they're running a mentorship scheme properly with the county FA now, where they have their own senior refs in the league, the dependable ones, the good referees like Peter Hitt, for example, who's a quality ref in the Reading League.
Fantastic.
Where they get the younger lads that are passing their referee courses, instead of just going straight from an online course to then on the field, they'll have a mentor and they'll talk them through, similar to like what the old Reading Referees Association used to do. They actually have mentors that are teaching them about the actual game and the the circumstances that they go through on a week to week, rather than just the scenarios that they learn about on their online modules. And the league are paying a fee to make sure that they can get in these young referees, and they've got a panel of experienced refs that are helping them out, so that, you know, when they come up against adults, they know how to act, they know how to be responsible. Because you know, when we were both 18 at one point, and the idea of speaking to somebody that was like twice our age with conviction, you kind of sound like a little mouse, don't you?
Yeah,
you don't know how to have a voice. So this is trying to combat that generational communication and like the way that you do it. Because, you know, everyone gets scared about speaking to somebody that's got a strong opinion that's twice your age. So yeah, maybe the Sunday League should go down that route. That would help massively.
I think it would as well, yeah.
Big time. But yeah, apart from that though, we'll end the podcast just on we've talked a lot about the challenges. For your experience and going through Rose and working in the trust, what are your big benefits that Grassroots offers to people in the community?
I feel it gives, you know, I always think about if we didn't have it in our lives, this Grassroots, you know, being able to play football, I think that the relief of stress that it gives, you know, that gives people a place to go, that gets everyone out of the house, it gives people something to do. I think, you know, even if you take it as a youngster, you know what I mean, it gives them something to channel their energy in, and gives them, you know, a place where they can feel as part of a team, as a part of a group. And it's always a great icebreaker as well. Whenever you meet someone new, like if you didn't have like Grassroots football, you're like, where are you going to meet all these people? You know, I always think that's a massive positive. And I think, you know, just playing football as much as you can, and Grassroots just gives you that option to do that. Really, fantastic.
Yeah, it is. And I came back into football in my mid-20s because I was one of that generation that went away to university and just it fell off. I just completely fell off. I did other things. I was getting a degree. I thought that was the most important thing in my life. God, I was wrong about that. Absolutely wrong about that. And, you know, so I come out with this little thing in my head, like, you know, this way I was going to progress, and it just didn't pan out. So yeah, for me, football was a way for me to actually establish really my best friends in the area. You know, keeping fit. Some people don't like going to the gym. Some people don't like doing solo runs. Some people benefit by doing team sport. That's what motivates them. So yeah, without team sport in the country, I beg to differ what we would look like. I'd probably be 25 stone. I would be a mess. I wouldn't go out. But that's just the reality of it. I just wouldn't do it because I'm not motivated. And, you know, having somebody in your team and a group of friends that you can play with just motivates me no end compared to lifting weights or doing stuff like that. So it's probably the biggest benefit, having that support structure around you, especially when you're young. I still remember my first ever goal, and I'm probably sure you do as well, from when you were younger. Yeah, big time. And I treat my first goal as like the best goal I've ever scored, and it's arguably the luckiest goal. I was playing under 14s football for Pearly Jubilee, and the ball came to me at the edge of the box, and I went to cross it in, and the wind on the day was so bad, the wind just took it in, but it dribbled in at 1 mile an hour, where it was going towards its intended target at the back post. And the goalkeeper's like stood at the front post, and then the wind's just deviated it, and the goalkeeper's gone, I don't know where this is going to go, and it just trickled in, rolled off the post across the line, and I've wheeled off, celebrated. It was like the most slow motion goal you've ever seen as well. And on top of that, equally, I've got a couple of players from my under 14 team that play in Hype Train with me now. Like John Watkins is one of my best friends on the planet, and I played youth football with him as well. And he always reminds me of an own goal that I scored. We were playing Kennet Valley, and it wasn't just an own goal; it was arguably the best own goal you've ever seen. Nick Bosson, that runs Farley Hill, a good friend of mine. He was in goal for our Pearly team, and he was a very good goalkeeper. He broke his leg when he was quite young, and you know, he had a long road to recovery. And but before his leg break, he was an incredible goalkeeper. Like He was just a David De Gea type, would get everything. Kennett, who had a lot of players from my school, crossed the ball in. And I'm completely left-footed, left everything. I don't know how to do things on my right side of the body. The ball's come across. I volleyed it on my right foot at the edge of the box. It's curled all the way in, perfectly into the top stanchion. Nick has dived for it. And it's literally gone that 1 percentile in the box. It's just hit that top stanchion. And everyone's just like that. And it was like it was honestly probably the best goal own goal you'll ever see. And stuff like that, like 15, 16, 17 years later, is stuff that, still sticks for people, memories that you have. And but no, kids and young adults need to stick with it. That's my big thing. I'm trying to get kids to stay playing football as long as they can. Because it's so easy to drift away from and not get back into. I think people need to just stick with it, go through that development, force it if they need to, because otherwise it's so easy to lose as well. And I mean, because otherwise, the Reading Sunday League will go down to 3 divisions and then 2 and then 1. Like what's happening with the Prem as well. It'll just be
me, you and Give Back, and we'll be like, oh no, not again.
Hey, we had a good game against Give Back. We beat their reserve team a couple of times. Their first team are another kettle though. They're very good. Their team were just so strong, and they would just body us. And we got to 2-2. We had a special player called Paul in our team that was he scored 2 very good goals, and their right back just couldn't mark him. But apart from that, they got lucky at the start of the second half, scored a couple of set piece goals, and caught us late on. So, but it was a game. But as soon as the ball got into their forward man, it was like trying to push over a cement truck. You just couldn't move him. Everything stuck to his feet. It was like playing with Emil Heskey when he was good for Liverpool. Just nobody could get near him. 2 people would shoulder barge him, and he'd just bounce them off. And but no, they're a very good team.
I know exactly who you're talking about as well.
Yeah, big lad, just couldn't get near him. 2 centre backs on him, and we've got a centre back called Callum in our team, and he is a big gym lad. He's ridiculously strong. Him and our captain Vince at the time we just couldn't get near him. Just could not get near him. Two people that were very strong and athletic, just bouncing off of him like they were bloody sheets of paper. It was something to see. Apart from that, though, I know that we've taken up your time today. I just want to say thank you for taking the time on the podcast. What I'll do is I'll link the Reading Community Trust below. Apart from that, I'll also link Rose as well. You can see their array of shiny kits online, and some of the skeptical photography on game days as well.
That's whoever's got a camera on the day, most of the time it's my wife.
Yeah, absolutely. But no, thank you for taking your time today. My
pleasure. Thank you for having me on. It's so nice to sit down and have a chat, mate. Me and you. Hey.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and hopefully, I'll have a good pre-season game before the season starts, as and when. And
a couple of weeks, isn't it? 2 weeks?
I think so. 2-3 weeks, something like that. Get the boys going on. Yeah, hopefully it will be a good day. Good luck in Division 2 next year. You guys have quite a good division. There's a few teams in there.
Very tough one.
It is. Division 2 has become, for me, arguably the strongest league because of just the array of good teams in the division. Last year we had 3 of the teams that got promoted. Brothers, Southcote and Ari are all top teams. They're going to complement the division very well. Get the fitness in because you're going to be digging in. A lot of these games are going to be tight, so
they are going to be tough. We're expecting a good year next year. I hope hopefully each game is nicely contested and we win most of them.
Good luck for the season, and thank you for being on for today.
Thank you, Rob, and to you.
Okay.
Nice to chat to you, mate. I'll chat to you soon.
Okay.
All right. Bye-bye.
To wrap up things on mind, I'd just like to say to Craig, thank you one last time for coming on. It's always nice to be able to speak to people in grassroots football, and I'm really appreciative of people that take their time throughout the day to carve out so that we can talk all things local football. I hope that you too have picked up something at home about what it takes to run football. We're 2 football organisers, so we kind of understand the local rigmarole about the week-to-week basics of what you need to do, and there's some really good insight if you yourself are looking to start a football team as well. In the weeks ahead, our podcast is looking to do a few more different things. I'm looking to talk to people about football recovery, about what it takes to recover properly for players' sakes after games, after trainings. And on top of that as well, we're looking into more community initiatives. And on top of that, elements to do with football pitches, pricing of local games, and more to do with the infrastructure built around local football in the country. But until next time, as ever, I hope you've enjoyed today. Believe the hype.